Remember that this is a man who, tripled your trash fees and cranked up the price of a parking ticket from $40 to $70. I've been campaigning for weeks, and I sense that there's a certain amount of animosity towards him. So I think easily he can get 45–50% of the people to vote against him. So I'll talk about that more when it's my turn, but I'll give it back to the host.
Thank you. So here's the format. I'm going to start on my left, and then I'm going to ask a question. And we'll have a couple minutes to respond, and then everyone jump into the topic. And there'll be six separate topics. So we'll start here to the left. And just pick these topics out randomly, so you may like it or you may not like the topic. The first topic is police. The mayor has increased the number of police officers since he's taken office. Has he increased it enough? Should there be more? Should there be less in this economic environment? And is there anything that can be done to improve public safety?
I don't exactly know the particular number of police that Mr. Villaraigosa has added, but I know that one of the things that I'd like to do as mayor is help end the consent decree. Currently, our police officers, no matter how many we have to spend a very large percentage of their time doing paperwork for the federal government. I believe that the city of Los Angeles can manage and control their own police department. We don't need to be supervised by the federal government. And I think that if we end the consent decree, it would free up millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of police hours so that police can spend more time policing and less time doing paperwork and conforming with the federal government. That's my opinion. Thank you very much.
One follow-up question.
Yes, go ahead.
Are we safer? Are we safer today than we were 20 years ago?
I don't feel any safer per se today than we were 20 years ago. I understand that the murder rate has gone down all around the country, and I'm very grateful for that. I think you have to ask yourself that question if you feel any safer. I don't think the police are being any more effective because of the consent decree, and that's one of my main concerns and one of the things I'd like to, as mayor, end. I think that a city like Los Angeles, the second largest city in the country, as Bruce pointed out, can manage our own police department. We don't need to be supervised by the federal government.
So anyone jump in who wants to comment on this question?
I'd like to jump in. I do know the numbers on police. When Villaraigosa took office, the LAPD had 9,300 officers. It now has 9,800 officers. He has increased the police force by just 6%. We're taking police from one neighborhood and moving them to another. Meanwhile, he's increased his own staff 32%. Meanwhile, he's increased spending 32%. But we have half as many police per capita as New York City. If we had as many police as New York City, we would have 18,000 police officers, and when you called, someone would come. Instead, your rates get hiked again and again, and the money gets diverted to the royal family of Dubai, to Aztecs Rising, to every little crony group that's out there. If you will let me, the #1 budget priority will be to hire enough police so that every neighborhood is safe. After Barack Obama was elected, black kids around the country said, I want to grow up to be president. In LA, they say, I want to grow up. I want to make it to 21. That's obscene. That's obscene, and we owe it to the kids and ourselves to make this place safe. But don't just elect me as mayor. I've got a slate that includes David Berger, candidate for city attorney. Why do I want you to vote for him? He's the only one, the only candidate who was an actual gang-busting prosecutor. The other people are a very nice young man who tried to prosecute Britney Spears for driving with an out-of-state license. Another one is a criminal defense lawyer who represents Rocky Delgadillo and polluters. Another one's a very nice man with no criminal experience. So elect a team of people who are dedicated to getting enough police. That's far more important than any other funding request. How are we going to pay for it? Right now, the mayor spends $168 million per year on these unregulated, sketchy anti-gang programs, which is like putting Fagin in charge of the orphans of the town. They give money to gang. Thank you. Someone has read Oliver Twist.
Thank you.
Okay, my time's up.
I'm going to get everybody going now. We should have a discussion.
We're going to take the gloves off here.
As I said, I'm Bruce Darian. I was born and raised in the San Fernando Valley, near Kaiser Hospital, Panorama City. I've lived here my whole life. I've definitely seen the changes. There are some things for the better, no doubt. We have a lot of camera and security that we didn't have 30 years ago. But we also have the chance, at any given moment, in front of this school or anywhere else, violence that we haven't seen in past generations, where there's machine gun fire, where people can be cut down at any time. And this goes on, and it has to stop. And it's not going to stop, and this is where I completely disagree with my opponent, Walter Moore. It is not going to stop by hiring more police. It is going to stop with prosecution. And that prosecution is going to have to come in the way of organizing what the organization is and attacking it and breaking it down. Otherwise, we are just trimming the weeds here on some very deadly lawn. We must break down the organizations, and what I propose, and I'm not going to go on for a long time here, is that each organization in the city of Los Angeles must be identified. It must be identified. We need to know who they are. We need to know what the numbers are, and there needs to be an estimate, a logical, educated estimate by our law enforcement as to what it's going to take to eliminate it, just as a wildfire. No different. How long is it going to take, and what resources are going to take to eliminate it? If we cannot make those estimates, then this goes on and on forever. It's perpetual. We must end these organizations. We cannot rely on police officers on the street making arrests. They go into the county jail system. It's a revolving Princeton University for crime. They learn more while they're in jail than when they're out on the street. I'll leave it at that for right now.
Anybody else want to comment?
Sure, I do. Go ahead, Carlos. I'll comment after you. Okay, well, I mean, for me, growing up, especially in South Central, was a different experience altogether, I think, with the police. And I think, especially when you're talking about Black or Latino or Asian youth, it means something different in communities of color. But it also means something different for working people all over the place. The police play a certain role in society. A lot of times, we need more protection. But how do we get that protection? We don't get it from funding police that go out there and just arrest a bunch of youth. That's not the way we're going to solve crime. The way we're going to solve any kind of crime is by funding social programs, by funding education, by funding basic human needs. And that's what we need to go out there with. I know I don't want to see any more youth in prisons. I don't want to see the prison population, which in the U.S. is the highest in the whole world. And the U.S. is the country with the most resources. Why can't we develop those resources to go toward people's needs rather than toward criminalizing them? That's all I have to say.
All right, now, before I answer the question, I want to ask you a question. Do you really want to know the truth? Maybe because you may not be able to handle the truth. And that's just not a cliche from some movie. I'm serious. Because you're not going to like the truth. But I believe that you have a right to the truth regardless. Sherman Oaks is about 4 times the size of the city of San Fernando. What you have in this community could be its own city. What you also have in the positive sense, you also have in the negative sense. The reality is, gang crime in Los Angeles has never, ever been worse. It has never been more dangerous than it is today, right here in Sherman Oaks. Because you have gangs, Armenian Power coming in from North Hollywood and Studio City. You have the Barrio Van Nuys coming up Van Nuys Boulevard already at Sherman Oaks Hospital. You have the Armenian biker gangs that are starting here. Why? Because of the drug trafficking. And guess what? Who are they selling the drugs to? Your kids at your schools. And do you believe that driving up and down the street with a black and white is going to deter a gang culture that has taken many generations to evolve? The fact is, our officers are